Oh boy, that video I uploaded last night about my new FireRed save file that I plan to keep forever and 100% and do all the content in. I'm really glad I uploaded that yesterday. So, never mind the fact that I literally uploaded this a day and a half ago at this point about starting a new file in FireRed. Nonetheless, a week before Pokemon Day 2026, FireRed is shadow dropped pre-orderable on the Nintendo Switch eShop, Switch 1 and Switch 2. So this is good. This is good news because, people who never got to play these games are going to get to play them for the first time. People who haven't played them in 20 years can go back and play them again. Although this is a great thing, I feel like this is not the best way that they could have done this. So, first of all, it's digital only, which is fine. But a physical copy would have been nice. A bundle would have been nice. Less than $20 would have been nice. I'm personally okay with 20. Could have been 15, I think would have been the perfect price for me. So what does Fire Red and Leaf Green coming out on Switch mean for the future of Pokemon games on the Switch? First of all, do these games have events? Are they gonna add them in like they did with the Celebi event in Crystal Virtual Console on the 3DS? If they do, that is an excellent thing. I mean, obviously, Fire Red only has about 180 available Pokemon anyway. Maybe closer to 200 with the version exclusives from both. But you don't get Mythicals. You can't get Ho-Oh, Lugia, Deoxys, Celebi, and Jirachi without an event, which obviously no longer exists. So, I think logically, this is something that they will add. However, Nintendo is not always logical, right? So next, does this imply that we're gonna get more games, Pokemon games, on the Nintendo Switch? Now, first of all, this is not an NSO release. Like the Colosseum and XD is gonna come out on NSO. So I'm worried because we already have Pokemon Stadium and Stadium 2 on NSO, and they do not have compatibility with the Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal. Even if they were standalone releases that you bought, I think they've said that Stadium will not have compatibility with Gen 1 and 2. Now, if Gen 1 and 2 comes out on NSO, I don't know if that changes things. So as of right now, Fire Red Leaf Green are not on NSO. They're a standalone purchasable release. So Colosseum and XD are on NSO. I highly doubt that they're going to be compatible. Therefore, you lose out on what I would consider the full Gen 3 experience. Very likely, I think extremely likely, 95% likely, we're gonna get Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald eventually, whether or not it's Pokemon Day or later. DS games down the road, pretty likely, I think. But then you have the same conversation where you're losing content, either mystery gifts or the Pokewalker is not going to be possible, I assume. And then are these purchasable releases? Are they NSO releases? I think logically we can go forward and assume that, well, I don't know. I mean, let's assume main series Pokemon games will be purchasable non-NSO releases. And I guess side games are NSO releases. Stadium, Colosseum. What would it be on DS? I mean, Battle Revolution, I suppose, will probably be NSO, I guess, if you're following by this logic. It's disappointing to me because as someone who literally this year and then literally about 8 days ago finished their FireRed playthrough with the intention of 100%ing it, keeping a forever save file, doing all the content, pulling shadows in, doing a Ribbon Master, trading between my Emerald to do Battle Frontier stuff. I want to hunt shinies and do it like, I want to maximize my Gen 3 experience, right? So, if FireRed is coming to the Switch without XD and Colosseum, without e-reader capability, without the Reggie dolls, which is a hyper-specific little thing from the Japanese games, maybe mystery gifts are included, but let's, like, you know, Eon Ticket, the Mew Island, the Deoxys Island, the Ho-Oh and Lugia event. I mean, let's be clear. The release on Switch is a good thing. Your average person can have a nice 40-hour playthrough. They don't care about 100%ing the decks. They don't care about 100%ing the trader card. They don't care about doing a Ribbon Master from Colosseum or catching the shadows. Technically, the whole decks should be available with just FireRed, LeafGreen, and Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, because the only Pokemon that are not available are the events, which would be possibly given out like Celebi was in Gen 2 Crystal Virtual Console on 3DS. So, I guess, you know, logically, if there's no compatibility with XD and we eventually get Gen 1 and 2 on Switch, logically, there will not be compatibility with Stadium 1 and 2, which is pretty annoying, because if I were to go and replay Gen 1 and 2, I would do so on the physical carts with the intention of bringing them to Stadium 1 and 2 to do the special cups, and the end game is really in the side game. I mean, the end game in Stadium 1 and 2 is the 4 cups, I don't remember their names, the Poke Cup, the Little Cup, whatever it is, and then the end game of Gen 3 is the Battle Tower, but also the Ore Colosseum in Pokemon Colosseum, and then I think there's probably a Colosseum in XD as well, which is like the hardest content in the game from a single player perspective. Other things we probably lose out on are Pokemon Box. Again, it's a hyper-specific example, but the 3 or 4 special egg distributions, like the Swablu with False Swipe, the Skitty with Payday, the Pichu with Surf, are we gonna get those? Not even talking at all about having, you know, all these games on your Switch. Can you transfer them to home? Like, if I have a Charizard in FireRed, how do I trade that to Emerald with one console? And I mean, this is a problem that would still exist on, you know, a single Game Boy, because you needed a second Game Boy to trade with yourself. Personally, it's annoying because a couple years ago, I moved away from my family, so my cousins and my family that would play with me are not around, so I'm gonna have a harder time trading, and that's a personal anecdote. It doesn't really matter for this case. Or do I buy a copy on my Switch 1, and then I have my Switch 2 and my Switch 1, and I can trade between... But then even my main file is FireRed, and my main file is Emerald that I want on my main console. I don't want my Emerald to be on Switch 1, or my FireRed to be on Switch... I don't know, it's a little complicated. Does that make sense? I think very quickly, I think that's really my biggest points I wanted to make about this. This is good. I'm obviously very happy that these games are on the Switch. It is the most accessible way for normal, average people to play these games, experience the story, and then move on. For your 1% or 0.1% crazy person like me who wants to experience these games to the absolute fullest and 100% it, I don't know if it's the actual best way to play, barring, like, obviously an insane money investment to get all the hardware and acquire all the games. I personally already have them all, so It's not a big deal for me specifically. But if someone wanted to go and beat the Battle Tower in Gen 3, and bring their Ribbon Master Typhlosion from Colosseum with that specific ribbon, or get the Mount Battle Ho-Oh as a reward, or the Shadow Lugia as a reward, you can't get that, which is weird to me. I don't know how they get around it, because now, let's say, 5 more years, let's move on to DS. You're also missing stuff. You're never going to have the full experience. Like, are you going to be able to trade your Manaphy Egg from Ranger NSO to your Platinum standalone purchased game? I don't know how that'll work. And I hope this video ages extremely poorly. In 6 days, we're going to know more on Pokemon Day 2026. Maybe this is all magically solved, but I highly doubt it. So, final point. If you want to just play the game, this is amazing. If you want to have the fullest Gen 3 experience, I mean, it costs a lot of money, but I think your best bet is playing on cartridge. I just bought an Emerald, and I mean, it's my choice. I mean, I'm not forced to buy a physical copy of Emerald, but I think I'm going to continue to play my Emerald on cartridge on the Game Boy, because I don't see myself getting the experience I want out of a Switch release. Now, honestly, I probably will still buy 1 copy of FireRed and 1 copy of Emerald on my Switch 2 when it comes out, because it's cool. I think it's cool to have the games on your Switch 2. You can put them on the TV. They're way more easy to capture footage for, or stream, or whatever. But overall, I think my forever save files will stay on cartridge. So let me know what you think. I've spent all day at work, 8-9 hours at work today, watching every FireRed video I could find on YouTube, and I haven't heard anybody talk about the compatibility with the side games being an issue. Stadium 2, that's for Gen 1 and 2, but Colosseum XD, nobody's talking about the compatibility and if it matters. Do people not care? Am I the only one that cares? Maybe I am, but it really bothers me, and I feel like, while good, this definitely could have been better. That's not even mentioning the local wireless only thing. I think this very easily could have had wireless trading, like, so I can trade with my cousins across state lines and stuff like that. It's just very limiting and very weird. And I feel like that's the general sentiment on the internet right now. Everyone thinks this is good, but it's like, why didn't you just go the extra 2 steps and just make it perfect? Give us a physical, wireless capable, that's basically all, right? That's all I need for this to be good. Wirelessly capable, physical copy, maybe tradable with yourself somehow, I don't know. To have, I mean, it's a single player game, but it's an MMO style phenomenon community. That's the fun part of Pokemon, is everybody's playing it. I think that's all I have to say. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I mean, I've told you what I think. What do you think? Is this good, bad, not perfect, could have been better? We'll see next week. There's probably going to be more information. I don't think that I'm wrong. Honestly, I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think there's going to be compatibility with games, and I don't think Nintendo really cares enough to make it all work the way I, as a completionist, would want it to. So, hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. We'll see next week, and I'll maybe make a follow-up. So, that's all I have to say. Let me know what you think.